In a village not so long ago, there lived a man of great wealth, blessed with a kind-hearted young son named Tund. Life was good, filled with warmth and love. But tragedy struck when Tund's mother passed away, leaving a void in their home. In time, his father, hoping to restore the family's happiness, married again. The new wife, on the surface, was a picture of affection. She smiled sweetly at Tund, spoke gentle words, and seemed to care for him as her own. But beneath this mask of kindness, a dark jealousy was growing. She watched the loving bond between Tund and his father, and a bitter thought took root in her mind. All this wealth, this grand estate, it would all go to Tund one day. Her own son, she thought, would be left with nothing. This envy consumed her, twisting her heart until it became cold and hard. She saw Tund not as a child, but as an obstacle, a threat to her own ambitions. And so, blinded by greed and hatred, the wicked stepmother began to devise a terrible, irreversible plan. Her mind worked in the shadows, crafting a scheme she believed was flawless. She would remove Tund from the picture, permanently. Her chosen weapon was subtle yet deadly poison. She spent hours in the kitchen, preparing what looked like a feast. The aroma that filled the house was inviting, a stark contrast to the venomous intent behind its creation. She carefully mixed a potent, colorless poison into a special stew, a dish she knew was Tund's favorite. It was a calculated act of pure evil, disguised as an act of love. To ensure her plan went off without a hitch, she needed the perfect opportunity. She waited for a day when Tund's father would be away on business, a trip that would keep him gone for several days. With him out of the house, there would be no one to question her actions or grow suspicious of her sudden, doting attention towards her stepson. As she stirred the pot, a cruel smile played on her lips. She imagined her success, the wealth that would soon be within her grasp, and the future she would secure for her own son, Kunnal. She felt no remorse, only a chilling sense of determination. Once the poisoned meal was ready, she set the stage. She announced to the household staff that she had prepared a very special dish exclusively for Tund, as a treat to cheer him up while his father was away. "No one else is to touch it," she commanded, her voice firm. "It is a sign of my love for the boy." Her words were honey-coated lies, designed to deflect any suspicion and paint her as a caring stepmother. She placed the bowl on the dining table, a centerpiece of her wicked design, and waited for Tund to return from his evening play. Everything was falling into place. That evening, as the sun began to set, another boy returned home, tired and famished from playing with his friends. It was Kunnal, the stepmother's own son. The moment he walked through the door, a delicious smell greeted him, and his stomach rumbled in response. He followed the scent to the dining room, where his eyes landed on the beautiful, steaming bowl of stew. It looked and smelled irresistible. He remembered his mother's words, that the dish was only for Tund. But his hunger was overwhelming. Just one small bite, he thought to himself, no one will even notice. He looked around. The house was quiet. His mother was busy in her room, and Tund had not yet returned. The temptation was too strong to resist. He picked up a spoon, dipped it into the stew, and took a bite. It was even more delicious than it smelled. One bite turned into two, and then three. Before he knew it, driven by a child's simple hunger, he had eaten nearly the entire meal. Satisfied, he wiped his mouth, put the spoon down, and quietly slipped away to his room, his little secret safe, or so he thought. A short while later, the stepmother came to the dining room, expecting to find Tund and deliver the poisoned meal. Instead, she found the bowl almost empty. A wave of confusion, then panic, washed over her. Who could have disobeyed her direct order? She rushed through the house, her heart pounding in her chest. She found Tund just arriving at the front gate, safe and sound. A cold dread began to creep into her soul. If Tund hadn't eaten the food, then who had? Her mind raced, and the horrifying realization struck her like a bolt of lightning. Kunal. It had to be Kunnal. She ran to his room, her breath caught in her throat. She threw open the door and found her son lying on his bed, groaning in agony. His face was pale, and he was clutching his stomach, writhing in unbearable pain. The poison, intended for Tund, was now coursing through her own child's veins. She screamed, a sound of pure terror and despair that echoed through the entire house. She tried everything she could. She called for the village healer, she prayed, she wept, but it was too late. The poison was too powerful, its work too swift. By the time the healer arrived, there was nothing that could be done. Her beloved son, the very reason for her wicked plot, slipped away before her eyes. The child she had schemed to protect and enrich was gone, taken by her own hand. The world around her collapsed into a nightmare of her own making. When Tund's father returned, he came home to a house of mourning. The truth, heavy and suffocating, could not be contained. The stepmother, broken by grief and guilt, confessed everything. Her confession was a torrent of tears and regret, a desperate cry from a soul torn apart by its own evil. The story of her wicked plan and its tragic, ironic end spread through the village like wildfire. She had wanted to destroy another's child to secure a future for her own, but in the end, she had only destroyed herself and the one she loved most. The village was stunned into silence. The tale of the wicked stepmother and her fatal mistake became a somber lesson passed down from one generation to the next. It served as a stark and painful reminder that malice is a double-edged sword. The evil we intend for others has a way of finding its way back, often with devastating consequences for the planner. The seeds of hatred, once sown, bear only bitter fruit. And so, the community learned, through one woman's immense tragedy, that a heart filled with jealousy and wickedness ultimately brings ruin only upon itself. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales that teach us about life.